John is a founder of City Mystery, a game design company that provides strategy, narrative, and implementation for games known by several names: ARGs, transmedia, and mission-based games. So City Mystery was a Webby honoree for Ghost of Chance, a game sponsored by the Smithsonian American Art Museum, the first game to be sponsored by any museum anywhere. John?
So thank you very much for having me, and my games have been called by various names. When I started about 6 years ago, they were ARGs, alternate reality games, and then they morphed into transmedia, which I thought was a great leap for media people and would be more palatable for media people. And then I'm sort of working on ARGs morphing into transmedia, and basically the basic unit is mission-based games. I want to take players out of the game into the real world to complete missions and bring them back into the game. So that, and I'll show you something of the process. So essentially what we're doing in my definition of transmedia is that you blend as much media as you possibly can, and each medium is equally weighted. There is no anchor medium, and it flows. The story, the narrative, the action of the game flows through as many media as you possibly can come up with. And as I said, what we're trying to do is we're trying to get the players to move away from their screens, from their consoles, and employ tablets and employ their phones to be able to actually go out and complete missions. In my games, anything that you do that is attached to the game, the narrative of the game, you have to present to everyone else who's playing the game. And the whole object of these games is just to move the game forward. And so what I mean by getting people out into the real world is that, well, for instance, this woman was completing a mission. She was on vacation in Easter Island, so the game existed everywhere and anywhere, which is a very McLuhan-like thought. The thing about McLuhan that really got to me, he talked about acoustic space. And for some reason that has stayed with me since I first read Understanding Media, is that this notion that it was everywhere, it was all-encompassing. It wasn't just sitting there and looking in that direction. It could be anywhere, and these games can be anywhere. So this one, my point is that how we use missions, which is the basic building block card games, is that the more you do for the game, the more you unlock the story of the game. And this was our first one for the Smithsonian, and it was a ghost story, and it began this way. Essentially, a nearly naked man walked into and suddenly appeared at a convention of mostly geeky people. And I did it because I wanted a sumo, but the sumo agent in LA was getting a fortune for his sumo people. So this convention took place in Boston, and so I started calling gym rats, and I finally found this man is Craig Torres. He was Mr. New England, 2006, 2007. This game started in 2008. Over his heart was a tattoo, and the tattoo, this was great to see, because I was standing sort of like over there with his bathrobe, and he was in a posing strap. And they surged forward as soon as he appeared, and they started doing what he's doing, and you're doing, just taking pictures of every inch of him. And what they found was this iconic image. And that iconic image, also this was pre-tweeting, so a Flickr stream started almost instantaneously. So we had another medium involved. And all the pictures that they had taken appeared on Flickr. It took them several hours to eventually get to this iconic image, which is part of the Smithsonian collection. And it introduced them to a notion of a ghost story. And there were ghosts involved, and they were making mischief. And the mischief that they were making was that they had gone to the Smithsonian site, the most institutional institution on the planet. And they had inverted the typeface. So if you clicked on the typeface, you got to this, which was our first site. And our first site, we had to cancel this out because it's not live anymore. We asked our participants to do two things. We wanted, that image, by the way, is called a lover's eye. And the largest collection of them, it resides in the Smithsonian. So we asked our players to send in pictures of their lover's eye. And it could be a pet, it could be whatever you wish to ascribe as your lover's eye. And we also asked them to call in and add their voice to a ghostly incantation. And I used the one from Macbeth. And it's double, double, toil and trouble. And you can still call this number and you hear this eerie wave of double, double, toil and trouble. It got so weird and eerie. And essentially, we got hundreds of people sending in their lover's eyes. And some of them are just extraordinary. And somebody sent in Hal. But they really worked on it. And suddenly, what I was talking to you, Scott, about is suddenly your audience is not an audience anymore. They are working for you. They're working for the game. They are participants. They've changed. Oh. Okay. And we had captured their cell phone numbers. If you opt into the game, you give it. We had captured their email addresses. So,
I heard it in Credit Schofield. Of course, our great success was in Washington, D.C., but that was before Lincoln. I would have given him a livelier evening. John was such a sourpuss.
Okay, so that's a ham. You remember our bodybuilder? He was the most recent incarnation of the ghost, who was a ham actor from 1855. And he died. 4 of these people died on the same night. And the part of the game is to find out more about them so you can honor them, so that you can free them from haunting and you can free the Smithsonian from being haunted. Because we had your cell phone number, this ghost, who was live and with a processed voice, could call you. And you then had the responsibility of posting that audio that ghost called onto the game site. And you could create your own ghost sightings, which is what this video did. And it appeared on Facebook, on in-game character sites. Oh. Oh. A ghost is with us. Missions can be delivered by telephone, tablet, and laptop. So they're pervasive. And this is the transmedia part of transmedia storytelling. So it's all about engagement and sharing what it is that you've done for the game to keep the game moving forward. Again, this was a mission from our second Smithsonian game, and I also want to say that the museums have been, especially the Smithsonian and the Luce Center, way out ahead of the curve. Because some of the work that I've seen here in previous meetings have been based on franchises, like television shows or something like that, expanding what already exists. What the Smithsonian was able to do was to take it on faith, partly because I have gray hair. But they allowed me to just start telling a story in this brand new way. And I look at my museum work as complete proof of concept that you can do it, and you can attract thousands and thousands of people to do it along with you. So you're all moving the game forward. This is another example of a mission. We ask people to digitally insert themselves into this painting. I like the one in the middle because she actually texturized herself and really made herself part of it. And now from the sublime of Mr. Schultz, which is very, very necessary, to the very practical. What is the sponsorship model? Where's the money? And the money remains as old as radio and television. It's a sponsorship model. And the sponsorship is different. This time around, you're not going to sponsor the story. That's TV and radio. You're going to sponsor what people do for the game. You're going to sponsor the missions. So in this one, the proposition, the mission is get yourself invited to someone's house for dinner, sing for your supper, and have your host tape you. Do it, and then you post it. Okay? But then you want to bring your host a present for having sponsored your performance. So you bring a bottle of champagne, and you co-sponsor with wine.com. And the game becomes a point of sale. You can make the sale in the game itself, and in the sponsorship, the mission tells the brand story. So with wine.com and with champagne, you're telling the brand story, but you're advancing the game as well. This one, these are all real missions that we did for our second game. Narrate your route to work as if you are a professional sportscaster calling if football plays. And you videotape yourself doing this, or you're the first-person shooter. And if you use any of the For Dummies products about football or coaching or anything like that, and the point of sale, you get additional points and you rise in the game. So you see how sponsorship can work. This is another one where, again, you're offering point of sale. You're doing it as fancifully as any 20-second commercial on TV, except what you're sponsoring is the fun that people are having, and your product is the way they're having the fun. So in this one, WebEx invites you to form a network of players in Los Angeles, Minneapolis, and Baltimore to bake a cake. You're doing something silly, but you're applying it to an actual sponsorable brand. So, some more games. This one is the first one I talked about, which is Ghost of a Chance. And I won't click on any of these, but these are all the different media that we did use. I had a calligrapher calligraph a 19th century hand, a male hand and a female hand. We had real letters of distressed paper. We mailed them to players that we liked. We chose a player, we snail mailed it, and then he had to post it on the blog that was dedicated to this game so that everyone could share in it. We had the make things. This one made the fortune cookie as predictor of imminent doom. Because we asked for things of imminent doom. And we also were giving them a show at the Smithsonian. But when the game ended, they had a dedicated show to all the things that they had made. On the lower right-hand corner, this man's a forensic anthropologist, and I went to him at the end. He's at the National Natural History Museum on the Mall in Washington. And I said, I need a dead character. Oh, what do you need? Well, she's a 24-year-old African-American, a runaway slave. She was hit by a train. He said, I've got it. I'll find the corpse. Because the Smithsonian has a room that was donated by a surgeon in Philadelphia who had nothing but bones, corpses, and he fit one together for me. Again, the people who attended the live events, our games have live events which creates theatricality in the games. So we had about 25 to 50 people who attended the autopsy. They took pictures of it, they posted it, everyone shared in it, it moved the game forward. And we also use cell phones because, well, cell phones. Colonial Williamsburg, which is in Virginia. Californians don't know much about it. They know Knott's Berry Farm, but Colonial Williamsburg is this very famous thing that was started by the Rockefellers, and it was one of the revolutionary cities. They have live events. This was a game, I should have said that Ghost of a Chance ran for 6 weeks. This game runs for an hour and a half. Involves the same amount of media, by and large texting, because on a 4-day spring break, holiday time, 6,000 players generated 50,000 texts. So they're really engaged. They're also making things and doing things as they go along. This is another discovery of mine. Most of the games when I started, when they were called ARGs, were single-sponsored. The networks 60 years ago figured out, oh hell, why do that? You make more money if you have multi-brand sponsors. And that is the proof of concept of Fion, which is really built around a graphic novel. We don't have to see it, but it's just missions sponsored by 5 separate brands, essentially. Brewster Kahl's Internet Archive and the Smithsonian, the Encyclopedia of Life, which some of you may know about, which is attempting to digitize all all natural matter on the planet. And the Luce Information, the Luce Center, the Luce Foundation, and the University of Maryland's College of Information.